I'm Ellie Overton. I'm Director of Sales and Marketing with SwimTopia, and with me today is Tracy Nelson, our Director of Customer Success.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah. So I'm going to give us a little bit of an intro, and then Tracy's going to take over with the full demo of all the actual software. But Meet Maestro was originally designed to be really intuitive and give a fresh look to meet software. If you're used to running meets in other meet software, it's getting a little creaky. And so we've really tried to make SwimTopia as intuitive as possible so that new meet computer operators can just come on board and get started and get to work in Meet Maestro without too much training and all that kind of stuff. We've tried to make it really intuitive. That's kind of a hallmark of SwimTopia. Our team software is the same way. We've tried to make it that way. And then the other thing about Meet Maestro is that it is very powerful. One of the great things about Meet Maestro is that it runs online. It runs in a Chrome browser as the preferred internet browser to use with Meet Maestro, but it is running online. So what that means is that it allows for certain things that other Meet software just simply can't do. So you, for instance, can have multiple computers open at once. The other nice thing about it being online is that people can just bring their laptop to the pool to help. You don't need to have, again, the creaky old team laptop. People can bring their own. They don't have any software they need to install. So there's sort of no barriers there. And people can just get to work on a Mac or a PC with Meet Maestro. And what this allows too is that because it's networked, you can have one person, say, entering times for the boys, one entering times for the girls, one entering DQs. Or if you're having a virtual meet, which we'll touch on a little bit later today as well, you can, each pool will be entering their own data at their own pool. And that data will be being constantly merged and updated, and the meet will actually be being scored live. So that online factor of Meet Maestro really leads to some exciting and innovative ways to run meets. One important thing for you guys to know, a lot of you on today are already existing SwimTopia customers. If you're a SwimTopia customer, that means you're using all of our team management features, you have a SwimTopia website, you're doing your registration with us, you're running your volunteers through us. If you have a SwimTopia account, you will access Meet Maestro from your SwimTopia interface, and it's included with the price of SwimTopia. You don't need to sign up for any other type of account. Tracy's going to show you how to get to the Meet Maestro interface from your SwimTopia account, and it comes free. And we plan to keep Meet Maestro for free with SwimTopia accounts in the future. If you are joining us and you have just a Meet Maestro account, or you're considering opening just a Meet Maestro account, Meet Maestro covers more of the things that you do for Meet Day. It doesn't include all the team management features, but you can sign up for that for free through July of this year. So the great thing about that is that if you're running a Meet Maestro, your meets in Meet Maestro, and your opposing team doesn't already use Meet Maestro, but they're interested in checking it out, or they want to run the meet at their pool while you're running it at yours, you can invite those teams to start a free Meet Maestro account. The plan at the moment is that we'll charge $150 start charging $150 in the future for accounts, starting in August. But at the moment, and for this summer, it's completely free. We really wanted to encourage teams to get out there and get racing again. And we know it's been a really long year for swim teams. And last year was a tough one. So we're really just encouraging teams to get out there and get using our software and get running meets again with those free accounts. So this is a picture from my team from a few years ago, and we know that swim meets will probably not look like this summer, whether you're having virtual meets or regular meets. You're probably going to need to limit your participants on pool deck, no matter which way we go there. And Meet Maestro is a great solution for virtual meets, and it's also a great solution for regular meets. But we are going to touch on virtual meets today because that's still on a lot of people's minds. A lot of teams are certainly at least sort of starting the season in the virtual meet capability where one team's going to be swimming at their own pool, and then all the other teams are also going to be swimming at their own pool. So one thing to keep in mind with Meet Maestro is you can have a virtual meet with as many different pools as you want. So it doesn't have to just be a dual meet. We actually ran championship meets last year. We had 20 teams running meets at the same time. But this is just a great way to kind of just keep your crowd control a little bit more under control and still keeping things sort of COVID safe and COVID friendly. And Meet Maestro does a great job of that. And Tracy will be digging into that in a little while. So yeah, Meet Maestro is, like I said, just, we've tried to make it fun. We've tried to keep it really easy. We want it to be easy for people to run meets, easy for them to learn, and make it exciting. So with our mobile app features, and Tracy will be showing these too, if you follow along your meets in the SwimTopia mobile app, so if you go to the Google Play Store or the App Store, you look for SwimTopia, and it's the companion app for both our SwimTopia team management teams and our Meet Maestro customers. So you follow your meets in SwimTopia mobile, and like I said, like all those scores and results, and you can see heat sheets, you can get updated event reminders, that to say that your swimmer is coming up, you'll get results and things like that. So following along in the mobile app, we've got some really great features there that keep your meets exciting too. Even if you're having to run them virtually, you can actually still feel a little bit of that meet day excitement. So that's a really fun part of SwimTopia. But I am going to hand off to Tracy now to really dig into more of the demo portion of things, and I will start monitoring that chat. So just a reminder, folks, I'll be answering questions via chat, and then if there's something that Tracy needs to demo, I'll break in on Tracy and ask her to show us something. But you're welcome to chat us questions, and we'll make sure those get answered. And then also we are recording this session and we'll be sending it to you as well. So over to Tracy.
Awesome, fantastic. Okay, welcome everybody. I'm so glad that you could join us today. As Ellie was saying, it's our understanding that most of the people that are here are already using SwimTopia. So this interface that you're seeing is the Manage Team interface. It should look really familiar to you. If you're here and you only have a Meet Maestro account only, you're going to see a few menu choices on my demo screen here that you don't have access to, and those are the team management features that Ellie was just talking about. So you may not see communication, registration, communications, merchandise, website, but you should see people, roles, schedule, and then reports over here. But those of you who have full SwimTopia accounts, this probably looks very familiar to you. So we're going to go with the assumption that most of you are pretty familiar with how to set up a meet and create meet entries, but we do want to talk about some features that really integrate well with Meet Maestro and help make it. Wow, we have a new thing to demo here, Ellie. And I saw a new menu item.
That's
yay,
right.
We can maybe talk about this briefly. I'm sorry, guys. We just launched a new feature today. I'm so excited to see it. So you're probably familiar with how to set up a meet, but there are some features here that you may not have been using because they integrate. If you haven't been using Meet Maestro, some of these features are key to integrating with that. So what we're going to talk about first is meet templates. And a meet template is where you can set up kind of the rules for a meet. And so any type of meet that you have would have its own meet template. Typically, teams will set up a meet template for, like I said, types of meet. So that could include like a dual meet, maybe a time trial, because time trial would have different entry rules, if you will. Championship meet might have different rules. And so you can see here in our demo account, we have quite a few example meet templates. Anything with a blue badge here, it means that it's being shared with me from my league. So some of you are affiliated with leagues who have created shared meet templates. And if they've created shared meet templates, you'll see these with the badge with your league's abbreviations next to it. Those have been created by your league. So they've set up all the rules. They've literally done all the work for you, which is actually kind of cool. But we're going to go into one that is local to my site here called the virtual meet template. And once you go into the meet template, you can see all the things that it has, and you can set these up. And then for every meet that uses these rules, you just apply a meet template to that meet. So it's really easy. You don't have to go into every single meet and set this up every single time. You just apply a template to it. So the template can include the schedule of swim events. It would include any entry rules, such as your entry limits, whether or not you accept seed times from prior years. There's a whole lot of things here. Many of you are probably very familiar with these, but this is an example of where a time trial, for example, may not have entry limits, right? And so that's why you might want to have a different meet template for your time trials. We also have entry fees, which is not quite as common in most summer league teams. Eligibility is for things like championship meets, you have to have swum a couple of meets before you can enter this particular meet. And then here's one that if you have not been using Meet Maestro, this is one that you're going to want to take a look at. So the seeding and scoring, this is where you're going to tell the system how you want your meet to be seeded. And you can set up rules like fastest to slowest. It's real common for a lot of teams to do odd and even assignments, especially in dual meets. And then you can also say fill it strictly or fill it flexibly. And I'll go over that in just a minute. For this particular meet, since it's a virtual meet template, we're just going to go ahead and say we don't want odd and even lane assignments. We're just going to go based on time. So just fill the pool. However, for my relay events, I've decided in a virtual meet scenario where I'm trying to keep those kids spaced out is we do want to have odd and even assignments so that we can have a spacer lane in our virtual meets. And if we do that, then we want to pick odd and even, but then also apply the assigned lanes strictly, which means it's going to keep doing odd and even lanes, leaving a spacer lane, no matter how many swimmers you have. If you said to do it flexibly, then that would mean as soon as one team runs out of swimmers, then you can fill it with the other larger team. But in a virtual scenario, you wouldn't have the other team, if that makes sense. We can have dedicated scoring heats and dedicated scoring lanes, set up your rules for time computation. And then this is where you would set up your points and all the scoring. And so again, you can see like maybe a championship meet and versus an in-season meet might have slightly different rules here. Okay, I'm gonna hop back on out of here and just glance over. We have a feature that came out a couple of years ago, but for those of you who maybe didn't have a season last year, I don't know if you became aware that you can set up record books. So you can have the system, you can have your SwimTopia account go back and look at all of your SwimTopia times histories and create new record books. You can create several kinds of record books. And so here we have pool records and we also have team records. And here's our new feature that took me by surprise. We have time standards. So if you have, I don't know if we have any active ones. Nope. If you have any time standards, especially for maybe, for maybe a championship meet, if you have time standards for a championship meet or maybe a series of championship meets, you can enter the qualifying times that are needed for that. That's pretty exciting. Okay, let's take a look at a meet here. Okay, so we're going to hop into this meet. We'll go into meet setup here. So some things that I want to point out, when you're doing a Meet Maestro meet, you're going to want to link to the other team. So many of our leagues that we work with, especially when they have 100% SwimTopia teams, many of those leagues will send us a schedule import. And when they send us the schedule, we bring in all the meets for their entire league, we import it, and then that gets pushed out to all of the team sites. And all the linking is already done for those meets. So if I'm on the Marlins and I'm competing against the Stingrays, and the meet import will take care of the linking so that the meet that's on the Stingray site is also, it knows that the meet that's on my Marlin site is the same meet. So in this case, we have a visitor code. If it's not imported and if it's a meet that you manually create, then you'll need to communicate with that other team and give them the linking code. So here's the linking code here. And I would have contacted my buddy at the Stingrays and told them what the code is. And then once they entered that, you can see right now that my meet is linked to them. I'll just highlight here, I don't know if you can see this vertical bar, but everything to the right of the vertical bar is the same things that you saw in the meet template. If I click on events here, it should tell me, it would normally, if I was attached to a meet template, it would tell me if I was or not. Let's go ahead and apply this. So I'm going to apply this to my virtual meet template. Hope that works. Okay, so now that it says that it's applied, that it's got the virtual meet, so everything that was in the entry rules, the seating and scoring rules, all of that got brought into this meet. Oh, but we're not doing this as a virtual meet, are we? Okay, we're actually not going to do this one as a virtual meet. So let me go back to my setup and make some changes. So let me unlink this. Okay, so we actually want to seed this with odd and even lanes flexibly, because this is not going to be a virtual meet. There we go. Got some points, save that. Okay, those of you who have been using SwimTopia are probably really familiar with the meet entries matrix. So this is where when the families sign up for meets and sign up for their meet events, this is where those get recorded. If the coach is doing the entries, or if the coach makes changes, this is where that would happen. We've got a bulk screen where we can do bulk edits. It's super easy to create. Let's say I want everybody to swim freestyle. I can just click select all, save entries. Okay. We also have our one-click relay generator. So you can see right now I have no relays. I can click a button and the relays are generated in an instant. Coaches can have access to this and make edits to it if they'd like. Okay, so let's say all the relays are done, all the entries are done, coach is happy, and it's the day for both teams to merge the meet together. So the first thing I'm going to do is lock out any changes that I have. And then you'll see that my screen has changed and it shows me some more information. So it shows me the teams that I'm linked to. Right now, one of them is a Stingrays. It shows that they're not ready. I need to come in and select my record books. And let's see, I'm the home team. So I'll go ahead and select my pool records and my team records. And I'm going to set myself as ready. And you see the status here says that this meet hasn't been merged yet. So if I go over to my Stingray site here, I'll show you first that linking page. So this shows that I'm linked to the Marlins meet. I'll go to my merge export. Oh, my changes were already locked out. Okay, so same thing. It says that the meet is not merged, but it does show me that the Marlins are ready. So I haven't had to call anybody. I haven't had to say, hey, are your files ready? Hey, you want to send me a file? All I do is just look and say, hey, they're ready. I'm ready. I'm going to select my record books. And since I'm the visiting team, I'm just going to do my team records only, not my pool records. Okay. And yeah, ready. So let's say I've come back to my computer 10 minutes later, I refresh my screen. And at this point in time, again, without any communication at all, I can just see it, look on my screen and see that they've marked themselves ready. So at this point, they can't see my meet entries. I can't see their meet entries. This is totally blind merge of the meet entries. And once, I don't know if you could tell, but once both teams are set to ready to merge, then the orange build meet Maestro meet pops up. We've had some people who have SwimTopia accounts contact our customer happiness team and say, how do I get to meet Maestro? Well, I'm going to show you. It's not a button you can push anywhere on your screen. There's not a menu item you can go to. First, you have to do what we just did, is create a meet, have some entries, mark yourself ready, and then at that point, you can push the magical Meet Maestro button. So before we do that, Ellie, do we have any questions on the SwimTopia side of things that we should stop and address?
There was a question, and I'm not sure if it's for now or for later, and it's, I know that virtual meets are set up as multi-session. Can one team use more than one session? For instance, taking 2 days, both with the same age groups and events. And I feel like you know the answer to this because we've been asked this before, but I couldn't remember.
That's a good question. Right now, as of now, I don't believe we can set it up as a true multi-session meet for the one team, but you could just go through and run your first half. And then the next day you could run the next half, and you can just leave the meet open until then. It's going to affect your timeline, unfortunately, and we're hoping to have a fix for that. But at this point in time, we don't have a way to build in breaks yet. So that's something that would need to be adjusted. We're good, Ellie?
Yes.
Okay, so with that, both teams are ready. I haven't had to pick up the phone. I haven't had to make sure that the files work together and match each other. They both had the same meet template. You want to make sure both teams have the same meet template that they're working with, or the same schedule of events with the entry rules. And again, if you're part of a league that uses those shared meet templates, that really helps create that consistency. So all we're going to do is now push the orange button and build the Maestro meet. I think I clicked it. Did I click it? There we go. Is this a Zoom issue? There we go. Sorry about that, guys. Okay, so some people have said, what if our league hasn't decided yet if we're going to go virtual or not? We've decided at first we're going to start virtual and then maybe switch to live, or the other way around. At first, we're going to schedule all of our meets virtually, but then if we decide as we get closer that what the home team would like to host a larger gathering, then they can decide to go live. The great thing is you don't have to make that decision until you get to this button right here where it says build as a virtual meet. Now, you did see earlier in the meet template, there may be some seating rules that are slightly different. So if that's the case, you could just change the template right before you merge like this, or at some point in the week when you've made that decision whether to go virtual or live. So the great thing is that you can set your meets up one way and then make a decision later if you decide to do it a different way. I think, Ellie, can you find, check all the users and try to mute everyone except me?
Oh.
Awesome. Okay. And so the system will remember, this gives you an opportunity to tell the system what kind of pool you have, and it will remember what you've put in the last time. It always gives you the chance to change just in case you, maybe you're having to have your meet at a different pool than usual. So if you do need to make changes, you can. You can also do this in Meet Maestro itself, and I'll show you where. So we're just going to click Merge the Meet. This one's not going to be virtual. And as we do that, the meet is going to start to get built. So we can watch the status down here in the lower left corner. It says that we're importing all the entries from the Stingrays. Now this meet is getting seated. Both of the entries are getting seated together in the proper heat and lane. Now we're calculating our estimated start times, and voila, it's done. Once it's done, you'll see a blue Meet Maestro button appear in the upper right corner. And this is how we get to the Meet Maestro interface. So we've heard from so many people who have used other meet software about how lengthy and complicated sometimes the system is to do all the file swapping and contact the other team. And sometimes the entries don't match or the events don't match, and there's some updates and some back and some forth and some, sometimes it takes hours or days to be done. You can see what I just did in a matter of less than a minute. We were able to create our Meet Maestro meet. So I'm going to go ahead and click on this button, and it launches my Meet Maestro interface. Okay, so we'll give you a brief tour to show you around. You can see how fresh this screen is and how modern it is, how easy it is to use. So we're looking here at our merged meet. I can tell by looking at the abbreviations for the teams. I've got Marlins and Stingrays interspersed on and even lanes. We've got our first event. So just giving you a quick tour around this screen, we've got the header that tells us which event we're on and the details about the event itself. This shows me that I have 2 heats, so I can click on either one and see heat 1 or heat 2. I can either use a keyboard shortcut, or I can just click on these buttons to go to a different event number. And we can even put this in heat mode for the data entry, or we can go in lane mode. This one doesn't have, there we go, lane 2, lane 1's empty. So lane 2, so if you have timer sheets and you want to enter in lane mode, then we can put the interface in lane mode, which some teams find a lot quicker and easier to enter those times. In the upper right corner, this is where the scores get tallied as the meet is progressing. And then you can toggle between the scores or your benchmarks. And the benchmarks are going to include those record books that we loaded and any time standards that are attached to the meet. On the left side here, we have our event status bar, and this shows us all of the events in the meet. Each segment is an event, and each dark blue line here is a separator for the stroke. So everything above this dark blue line, you can see as I hover over, is different age groups for the IM. Then we get down here and we've got our short freestyle events. Then below that, we've got breaststroke, backstroke, butterfly. And so if you need to go to any event at all, you can just find it and then say, okay, I need to check on something in event 11. So you can click on that and be taken directly to it. Here we go. Then the great thing is about this event status bar is as the events are completed, when you're in the middle of an event, the color will change from blue to yellow. Blue means it's been seated. White would be empty. I don't have any empty heat events here. So there's an entry in all of my events right today. but yellow would be it's partially complete, and then green is what happens when it's fully complete and scored. So as you can see, I came to event 11. Let's say I need to make a change to one of these swimmers. I'll show you how easy that is to do. Let's come over here to a heat that's not full. So if I wanted to swap places between Brian and Andre, I can just grab Brian and drag and drop him into Andre's spot. And they both flip like that. Or let's say I want to put a divider lane between them. So I can just slide Brian down and let him be closer to the wall. And so you see when I make a change like this, there's a red dog ear. And so that indicates that some kind of change has occurred since the merge was done. I can also
Tracy,
yeah.
Sorry, one thing real quick. I'm getting kind of a series of questions about the pre-meet reports because it's hard when we start demoing and it's not the first thing you see, but it's like often the first thing people have questions about.
Yeah, gotcha.
So yeah.
Okay, we'll go over there in just a minute. I'll show you one other way that we can make an easy change. So you can actually, even within this interface, you can click on any athlete and you can either scratch them from here. If you do that, you'll get a reminder that says whether or not they're in relays. Are you sure you want to take them out of relays? Or by clicking on their name, you can just change what event they're in. And so let's say that I want to put this person in, take them out of backstroke and put them in butterfly. This tells me that there are no available lanes. So I would either have to go out and create a new heat, which is doable, or I could say, well, okay, we're in a hurry. We don't want to create a new heat, so let's try a different stroke altogether. And then if there are available lanes, it'll automatically pick the next available heat and lane. So let's save that. Okay, so to complete the tour of the entry page, so this is where the times get entered. Right now you can see that we show 3 watches, but if you're using fewer than 3, you can just use this toggle to go down to 2 watches or down to 1, or you can go back out, all the way back out to 3. So you can toggle through all of those things. This is where you can enter DQs, and the DQs show up based on what event you're in. Okay, so that's a quick tour. So yeah, you want to show the reports, Ellie? Let me show the reports. So clicking
yeah, I mean,
on,
just because I just had a series of questions just to see what people can do.
Yeah, gotcha. So yeah, so let me go back to where I was because I did that kind of quickly. So we're right now in what we call the run interface. This is where you're running your meet, or we can go into the settings interface by clicking on the gear icon. And this takes us to where we can run all of our reports, but we can also do a lot of adjust some of our settings. So we'll go through this really quickly. On the reports, everything that's in the left column are typically the kind of reports that you would run before your meet. Everything that's in the right column, we'll come back to this later, but everything that's in the right column are the kinds of reports that you might run during the meet or after the meet is complete. So for the pre-meet reports, let's look at our heat sheet. So again, this is our live dual meet. So you can see in heat 1, we have Marlin and Stingrays interwoven with each other. We've got our, let's see, we've got our heats, our seed times. We can also, we've got estimated start time is being displayed for each heat. And so we have a lot of filters over here where you can decide how many things you'd like to show. Do you want to only print for certain events? Do you only want to print for certain teams? There's one thing that is really handy is we can say, just show my team. And we want to paginate by team and age group. And this is something super handy. So if you're printing out the heat sheet for the age group tents, and you want to give the right sheet to each age group tent, then this is great that it's already paginated and you can have it collated and printed out and ready to go for each age group.
Tracy, while you're on heat sheets, I've got a question about, is there a way to add like a line for the empty lanes on a heat sheet?
Right now, we don't have that. I know people have been asking for that sort of thing.
Okay.
Yep. Yes. We can also include your benchmarks and have them listed at the top. So if I had any time standards that you could display them here as well. So you can see, let's show all of both teams records plus the pool record. So there's just there's a whole lot of things here. We could take a lot of time just showing reports. And so I don't want to take too much time, but this is the sort of thing that once you have it, you can sort of play around with it. Any of you who have tried Meet Maestro, you might notice that our filters are now on the right side instead of at the top because we've added so many new choices that it just makes it better and easier. So let's go out of here. So just some other quick options that we have. I won't necessarily go into all of them, but we do have psych sheet. You can print timer sheets. We have a place judge form. You can do your timeline. Entry labels, athlete check-ins, a cool one. One thing that I like about this is that it shows relays and it also shows the position that they're in the relay, and it shows which event that they're swimming. And the same kind of filters that we had, you can paginate by team and age group. So again, you can hand this check-in sheet by age group for each of the age group tents. Let's get my Marlins. There we go. And then you can print that out and have those distributed. Okay. And then this records report is the records as they stand today. This isn't going to show any records that have been broken today, but these are the records that got loaded into the meet. So let's see. The other thing is, we'll come back to this screen, but what I want to do is show you a meet that's partially completed so you can see the difference not only between a meet that's partially completed, but also a virtual meet. So I have another meet in here. Once you've merged a meet, then you can always access it from the meet within SwimTopia. So I'm going to an old meet that's in the past. It's already been merged. You can see that it has the blue Meet Maestro button. So I'm going to go ahead. This time the Stingrays is the home team. And this one has been seeded as a virtual meet. So here we can see the difference. Okay. So now you can tell that this meet is partially complete, and this is what it starts to look like as you see all of the events fill in with green. So as your meet progresses throughout the day, it's really kind of nice to see how far you've gotten along and that you're getting closer and closer to the end and making good progress. Since this is a virtual meet, right now we have sessions showing at the top right corner. So I'm on the Stingray session here, and I can toggle over to the Marlins, and I can see where they are. Now you notice that some of these are striped with the green and the yellow. That means that my side is done, but their side isn't. So remember I said everything turns green as it gets scored out. Well, everything is getting scored as each event is being swum. So if you're starting your meet at the same time, let's say you're both starting on Saturday at 8:30 in the morning, as the 100 boys 10 and under 100 IM is done by both pools, as soon as they're finished, the results get merged immediately and the scores get added up and tallied, and parents start to get results on their phone, and everybody can see who came in first, who came in second, how many points did they score, how much time did they drop. So this is a really cool and exciting way, even if you have to be in separate pools, but it's a way to kind of keep that live meet feeling. So the great thing is with having these color codings is I can go through and I can say, oh, I've got a yellow heat, which means it's incomplete. And that indicates to me that we maybe have a problem. So when I click on that event, sure enough, I can see that only a couple of times have been entered. And I even have a heat that has no times at all. So this is yellow meaning partial. This is blue meaning it's been seeded, but no times. We've got some codes going on. And so we're getting a warning. The time should be within 0.3 seconds of each other. And so they're too far out. So we've got a lot of stuff going on here. So let's just delete these. There we go. Okay, we're going to go down to one watch. Okay, awesome. So let's give her the same time. And I can just enter I can use my keyboard and enter times. You can see, I don't know if you can tell that I'm not entering any punctuation. And it looks like Crystal just broke a record. Woohoo, go Crystal, go. Now, one thing I want to show you is that you see that I entered 31:32 and it got tabulated as 31:32 because there are no watches to calculate, but it got converted to 34:77 because the home team is in a meters pool. But I'm in a yards pool, and so because we're in a virtual meet, it's going to do a conversion automatically so that we're comparing apples to apples when we're comparing our times. And you saw that her row turned green, and so that means she broke a record. Oh, it's the pool record for the other team. Gotcha. I think in the virtual, I think we're trying to address that in a virtual scenario where that wouldn't, and you have a way to exclude records that haven't been broken, that haven't truly been broken. This is why we, when you set your record books, you always want to preview what the records are. But the exciting thing was, if this really was a broken record, you saw that her row turned green and the record that was broken turned green as well. So whoever's looking at this screen, and you may have an announcer who has a screen like this who can have immediate visibility to these broken records. Okay, the other thing I wanted to show you too is, let's go to those heat sheets that you were asking about. So we're going to go in here, and remember, this is our virtual meet. And I'm just going to pull up Marlins. So it asked me the session. So let's pull up Marlins only. And so we can see there's heat one, I'm sorry, event one, heat one, event one, heat two, but you can see all the swimmers here are Marlins. And then if I switch my session to Stingrays, we have the same thing. We have event one, heat one. So we have two heat ones going on at two different pools, and they have their own estimated start times. So the other thing that's pretty cool is you can, let's go to our session setup. This is where, if the two different pools have different lengths and they have different courses, this is where you can set that up. And so right now you can see that the Marlins are set up with a 6-lane yard pool, and the Stingrays are set up with a 5-lane meters pool. So if your meet doesn't get seeded automatically this way and you need to make those changes, you can just come in and edit it. And once you make an edit, it gives you there's a button that says you'll need to reseed the meet. And so the whole meet gets reseeded. So for, let's say it got seeded with 6 lanes, but you made this change to 5, and then it would get reseeded to only 5 lanes. You can even change the start time. So if one pool is doing their meet at 8 o'clock in the morning, the other pool team is doing theirs at 10 in the morning, or maybe they're doing 2 different days, you can have this, you can set these here. And so let's go back to our reports and to the heat sheet. So we've got the Stingrays. You see that their estimated start time is 8:30 on the heat sheet. If we go back to the Marlins, you can see that their start time is 8 o'clock. So it's like, to me this seems magic that we have two teams seated totally differently, but they're going to compete against each other, and the results get merged in real time. Go ahead and close that out. And then as we were saying, if you go to the results section here, you can see that there are points already, even though the meet isn't fully complete. And let's go to one of these that's partial. Okay, so if you watch the score up here, I've got this partial heat here. So we're going to go ahead and enter another time. Oops, I thought I was on the DQ. Okay. So you can see my heat turned green, my event bar turned green, and hopefully you saw some points get tallied over here and some points change up in this upper corner. The other thing that I wanted to point out is that as we enter times, I don't know if you've seen this little wheel going that says saved. This is all done in the cloud, so you do need a Wi-Fi connection or a data hotspot connection. And as you're entering times, as they get saved to the cloud, then that little wheel turns and says that it's being saved. Never fear though, if you have a spotty connection or the connection drops out, the data that you're entering will get cached. And so we don't lose any of that. You can enter all your times, you can enter DQs. The only thing that doesn't happen is that the actual, the scoring, the tallying, that occurs, that computing is what occurs in the cloud. And so the times will get cached and cached and cached. And then once the connection comes back online, then all the scores will get tallied out. So let me type this in here. And let's go. If you just watch that saved, watch that little saved wheel go, see that it's saving. If you were offline, you would get a little warning that says offline. I think I mentioned that we've got DQ codes. So you can click on this and you have different DQ codes based on the stroke that you're in. And you can also have keyboard shortcuts for things like didn't start, no start, etc. Ellie, do we have any
Tracy?
questions? Yeah.
Yeah, there was one I couldn't answer. If we have a non-standard pool length, will that reflect in the system or strictly behind the scenes? I believe SwimTopia managed this for us in the past. I know
Yeah,
you showed the session. Yeah, I know you showed the session thing, but I'm just not sure how it's different in SwimTopia versus Meet Maestro.
there are some teams that we have already pre-hard coded your correction factors for NWAL and some leagues that are 100% SwimTopia that have communicated that to us in advance. But if we don't have that information, then when you go to, if it's a live meet, then this session setup would not appear, but the interface looks very similar. If it's a dual meet, then you would do it just for your pool. And so let me show you where I went. So I see my 2 pools, and so I just click this edit button. And then this is where you can tell it the information about your start time and about how many lanes you have and what your course is. If you're doing a virtual meet against a team across the country, you can even say what your start time is and where did it go? There's a time zone. Here we go. Oh, time zone. You can say what the location is for your pool and also your time zone, that's great because it keeps your session report and your estimated start times live. But yeah, this is where you would enter if it's a non-standard length, and then you can enter your correction factor. Okay. The other thing that I want to show really quickly is this is our virtual meet, and it's partially complete. And so when I click on the results report, I can actually see those merged results. So I've got some events that are completed, and you can see that in the results report, I do have first, second, third based, and it doesn't matter what team they're on, it already puts them in the right place and gives them the right amount of points. Of course, I've got the same filtering options, so if I just wanted to print it for my team, I could, but it would just not show me the opponent's team. If I did it for Marlins, it would just show second place, fifth place, sixth place only. Some of the other post-meet reports that we have include award labels, improvement labels, participation labels, record breakers, and of course you can do the team scores. So let's see, Ellie, was there anything else on the run interface that I should show, or any other questions?
I just noticed when you were looking at that record breaking, and I might have been typing answers when you were doing it, but I just thought it was interesting to point out in the virtual meet, like the team that's the non-standard course, like how you can see their times. Sorry, not the home, like, you know how it converts to the home meet course, and then that's the official time field, and then the actually swum time is showing as well. Like, I don't know if you pointed that out, but just the fact that you can keep record of both of those times in the interface and that kind of thing.
Right, right.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a whole bunch of other things to show. We're just giving kind of a quick highlight of how easy this is to use and how fresh it is. And I think Ellie may have mentioned this, that there are a lot of teams who have difficulty finding a computer person, the volunteer to help run the meets, because the old software is just that, it's old and tricky to use. With Meet Maestro, we've had teams who literally can plunk a volunteer down and say, start entering times, and it's so easy. The other thing too is because you can have this is in the cloud, so you can have multiple computers working. So we've had some teams who say, okay, you enter the girl times, I'll enter the boy times. And then you over there, you can enter the DQ codes. And then I'm going to set one more person over there and just run reports and have the results reports coming out and the labels coming out. So it's a nice way to kind of divvy up the work, if you will, so that one person's not frazzled getting all these requests for, can you print another heat sheet? Can you print another report? Enter this time. What was the DQ reason for this? So sometimes it's kind of nice to do that. We have had leagues last year, because of COVID and because of us introducing our virtual meet feature, we had several leagues come on board to use Meet Maestro who had not used Meet Maestro before. And they wanted to use it for the virtual meet capabilities for their COVID safe meets. And there were a few leagues where I would say, okay, we've got you all set up. Now let's set up a training time for your computer reps. And they would not set the training time up with me. And so then the first week of their meets would come on board, and I would let all of our customer happiness teams say, okay, we've got this new league that's running meets on Tuesday. It's their first time to run Meet Maestro. Be ready on the phones, be ready to answer questions. and the phones wouldn't ring. And so the next week I would say, okay, guys, it's their second week only to use Meet Maestro. Let's be ready. And the phones wouldn't ring. And so that really told us that even without training, it was just so easy for them to pick up and use. And they just love that. And so that's pretty awesome. What else have I not discussed? Mobile app. Are we ready for mobile app? Before I do that, so I'm going to go once the meet is, so the mobile app is, we're going to show you some things that you would be seeing in while the meet is running. But while I'm in Meet Maestro, I just want to show you really quick. Once the meet is completely finished, then you go to this menu choice that says Finish and Export. You lock out all the changes, meaning, okay, we're not going to enter any more times. And once you do that, this button comes up that says Transfer Results. And so you click the button and all the results go back to the appropriate SwimTopia meets. Like with a click of a button, they all go in. No more file swapping, no more downloads, uploads, etc. Now, if you are competing against a team who does need that kind of file, then you can certainly do that. So we have downloads here, and you can do a results file. You can even do advancers file, a merge entries file, merge results file, and we can do that in most of those in high-tech HY3 or SD3 format. And then you can filter what teams you need it for, etc.
Tracy, I've had 2 questions come in. One is, can we show dolphin? So did you have the dolphin video queued up a little bit?
I don't have the dolphin video queued up, and it's I think it's too long for what we have time for. But I think that's a great.
It's just a 2-minute Mason's 2-minute dolphin video.
Oh, I don't. But if you could, I can maybe find it.
I can try to pull that up.
Yes, let's do that.
While you show mobile app.
Okay.
And then there was one question about entering a judge's decision. Did you do like judge override?
I did not. That's a really good question. Yes. And so, so as I hover over this, let's pick one with a lot of times here. That doesn't have very many. 3 heats, 4 entries. Okay. So as I hover over the heat place, the overall place, or the points, you see a little pencil show up. And so what I can do is I can just come in and do it. This is tricky because it's a virtual meet, but I can come in here. Let's pretend it's a live meet. I can come in here and I can say that she really came in. I saw the touch. Let's say that she really came in first place. I can hit OK. And so then it'll make the adjustment for not only her place, but also her points. I saw these points update when I did that as well. And then it's got a little gray dog ear that shows that an edit has been made. Okay. We ready for mobile?
Yeah, or dolphin. I found the dolphin video, so whichever you want to do.
Let's do dolphin.
Okay. Okay. Let me pull this up. Ooh. Hang on.
The race times are then wirelessly transmitted to the computer, eliminating the need to type in times by hand, saving a lot of time and avoiding errors. Setting up Dolphin in Meet Maestro is easy. Just click the gear icon, select Timing Setup, and add a new timing system configuration. Select CTS Dolphin, then select the folder where Dolphin is saving its data. Configure the expected number of times per lane, and enable publishing the current event and heat to the SwimTopia mobile app. Once configured, Meet Maestro shares the meet event schedule with Dolphin, so that advancing to the next heat before each start is easy. As each new heat is selected in Dolphin, the current event and heat is also updated in Meet Maestro and broadcast via the live bar in the SwimTopia mobile app. Meet Maestro adjusts the estimated start times for future heats automatically. Upcoming swim reminders are delivered via the SwimTopia mobile app, so you never miss a swim again. When a new race is started in Dolphin, the race clock appears and all the watch icons turn green. As timers stop their watches, the times start flowing in. Once the race is finished, The times are ready to load into Meet Maestro, where places and points are awarded and results are published live to the SwimTopia mobile app. Using the Dolphin system with Meet Maestro will help your meets run faster, reduce errors, and save time for your meet volunteers.
Okay. Tracy, you're on mute.
Great. Okay, so that was a little bit about Dolphin. Now let's show you some information. It's kind of hard for me to demonstrate on my mobile phone, so we have another video for you to watch. Top, that's our live event heat bar, and it's a handy way for every parent to see exactly which event and heat we're on. Many pools will have a sign at the pool that shows the event and the heat, and that requires a volunteer to update it, and it also requires that you can be in a place where you can see the sign. This way parents can have a live event heat bar right in their pocket, and no matter where they are, they'll know exactly which event and heat we're on. This can be done by a volunteer who will just, it's actually the best volunteer job, just to update next heat, next heat, next heat. Or if your team is using the latest version of Dolphin, this will actually be updated automatically and a volunteer is not even needed for that. We're going to do a tour of the rest of the screen here. If you scroll on down right now, it looks like the top 2 events are actually completed. If right now I have the pro version of the mobile app, but if I had the free version, it would just say completed and I wouldn't see the time. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. But included in the free version is an overview of all of my favorite swimmers. It shows the events that they're swimming in and the heat and the lane assignments, and also any seed times that they might have. If I scroll on down, I can also see the job assignments for the parents of the family. So it shows that one parent is doing the girls 7-8 lineup, and the other parent is first shift timer. Actually, we have a job sign up button that's open. Typically in a meet that wouldn't be open, but that does show you that you can sign up for jobs from within the mobile app prior to the meet. Okay, we'll scroll on up here and take a look again, once again, at the live event heat bar. So I can tap on the button on the right here and it will open up the a bar that shows upcoming events. So it shows the very next event is going to be event 25 and an estimated time of 5:31 p.m. I can also tap on the upcoming tab here. If I have the pro version, I can see upcoming start times for estimated start times for all of the events that my favorite swimmers are in. And the handy thing is that for teams that are using the live event bar and keeping that updated with either the volunteer or the Dolphin system, these estimated start times will be updated dynamically. And if the meet is running ahead of time, then, which everybody loves to hear that a meet is running faster than usual, these start times will actually be updated to match that. So you'll never miss a swim again. Okay, but that is a pro version. So I'm going to go ahead and make this live bar back to the 1 bar again. And so let's keep an eye on this. I'll show you how that works. So if you just keep an eye on the event number, right now we're on event 24, and you saw that it switched to event 25. And then we're going to watch the heat number here. It says that we're on heat 1, and there we go. We switched to heat 2. And this is perfect, event 25, heat 2. And this is exactly where my swimmer ought to be. So if I refresh my screen, this should update automatically here. If you look at, there we go. If you look at my little swimmer, Tabitha, in event 25, the live icon shows up on the right side, and that means she's in the water. So hopefully I'm standing at the pool right now. Let's take a look at the heat sheet though. Next thing we'll show. So if I tap on events, I can see the heat sheets. Okay, and this shows me my starred swimmer, Tabitha, is in lane 5, and I can also see heat 1 and the heat and lane assignments, and also heat 3. Scroll on down and we can see their seed times as well. So we're going to go back to the overview. and take a look. And by now, Tabitha has swum. It shows partial results of a time of 28:45. So far, she's in second place. And this is being updated as we speak live, as the other times are being entered by the computer people. And voila, we have our final results. Tabitha came in second place. Woohoo, good job. She earned 5 points for the team. We also have alerts set up where I forgot to mention that with the upcoming swims, you'll receive an upcoming swim alert, and you'll also receive an alert for live results. And so you can see that this is just such a great way to keep parents involved and up to date with the meet. One thing that's really handy between the live bar and the estimated start times being updated real time as the meet goes on, and then also getting push alerts for upcoming swims with a reminder that says your swimmer is about to swim. The great thing is that if parents are not allowed at the pool for social distancing purposes, then they can keep an eye on the progress of the meet and know exactly where the meet is and know when to come in and watch their swimmer. If you're allowing parents to come in just in time to watch the swims and then leave again, then at least they'll know when to be there and they won't miss that swim. Also, we have a new feature this year called guest mode. And so if grandparents want to watch the meet and follow the progress, they can sign in as a guest. And that, again, they can show up and watch the swim just in time and then go back to the car, go back to the parking lot, or attend to the parking lot. We've also heard of some teams who are live streaming their meets via video stream. And so same thing, by having the pro version and having these updates that show when the next swim is coming up, then even if people are following along via video, they'll be able to tune in at just the right time to watch the swim. Some other things that we'll show you is that we have a team feature, and this shows us the team scores so far. We can see the combined scores, the men's scores, the women's scores. We can also click on the team itself, and I can see all of the team members. Let's say I had a next door neighbor who's a friend of ours. I want to follow his swim, so I can star him and make him a favorite swimmer. And I can even decide whether I want to receive those upcoming swim reminders for him and notifications for his results. So if I go here to my favorites, I can see all of my favorite swimmers. That includes my little next door neighbor, Stevie, my own kids, Kelvin and Tabitha. Those aren't my real kids' names, but for the demo purposes. And then from here, I can set their notifications. And I also see an overview of their events. And I can see what the status is, whether it's completed, whether it's in the water, and I can also see estimated start times if it hasn't occurred yet. So again, you can see these are some great features to keep parents up to date, keep parents involved, and especially if it's a virtual meet, you can have that exciting live virtual feeling and see the results as they're coming in against the other team, even if you're not face-to-face in person. And that it's just a great way to keep parents involved. Thanks.
Awesome, guys. So I just want to show you really quickly, anytime you're in Meet Maestro, there is a question mark here, and this question mark will take you to our help center. In the help center, if you're familiar with this page, help.swimtopia.com, you can always come in here and there's a whole section for Meet Maestro and a whole section for the mobile app. So when you click on Meet Maestro, we've got some really well documented how-tos. Everything we've talked about today, it goes into much more thorough detail here with step-by-step guides, including some screenshots and how to do things. And I know some of you have been asking about how to do a test drive and set up a mock meet, for example. So we've got some instructions here on how to do that. And we've also got some information about setting up the wireless timing, the CTS Dolphin wireless timing system. And I believe that this is where you would find that the desktop app that's required for that. Here we go. So you just click on here and grab that. So yeah, we've got lots of great information in here to help you along as you go. And with that, Ellie, I'm going to turn it back over to you.
Okay, thanks. Well, that's kind of most of our presentation, guys. It's kind of a wrap at this point. Tracy and I are more than happy to stay on and answer questions. Just a reminder that, if you have your SwimTopia account, you don't need to do anything different. You will just use the interface to access Meet Maestro. If you have a Meet Maestro account, you're all set, so you're good. If you want to invite a team to use Meet Maestro, they can do that. Just go to our swimtopia.com website. There's a try for free button, or they can go to signup.swimtopia.com. As Tracy was just telling you, the Help Center is a great resource. Someone was asking about where to find the link to download the Windows mobile app. I would bet that if you went to our Help Center and you put the term Windows in the search field, the article with the link to that, it is also in the Meet Maestro interface. But you can find things in our Help Center really well. So just using that search field. So I really highly suggest that. And then our customer happiness team are pretty awesome, I will say. They answer the phone, they answer your emails, they do it in a timely way. They're very friendly, they're very understanding. No question is too easy for them or sounds silly to them. So please use our customer support resources. They're great. And if you do need any help with planning COVID planning resources, this is one of our blogs. If you scroll to the very bottom of our website, you'll see a link to our blogs, and you can find our COVID planning resources in there as well. So I think that's most of what we wanted to cover today. Tracy, am I forgetting anything to wrap up?
I think that's great. I just want to say thank you again to all of you for being here and taking time out of your day to watch this webinar with us. And again, like Ellie said, we'll stay around for a while and answer any questions. If you want to just keep chatting those questions to us, we'll answer whatever comes through. And then if you asked a question earlier in the chat and we weren't able to get to it, if you don't mind just asking it again, because we do want to make sure that gets answered. But before you all go, I want to say thank you again for joining us. And we have to tell you from the bottom of our hearts how important swim is to us. Ellie was a three-time Olympic swimmer. I am a swim coach myself, and I've got a daughter who swam all the way from kindergarten through NCAAs. And so it's really important. So for those teams that lost their season last year and had to cancel, I know that was just such a tough blow. And we're so excited to hear so many teams able to get back this year, even if things look different, even if you have to do virtual meets, even if you have social distancing. That's so much better than last year, which was not a swim at all. So we're really happy to be here and help provide these resources and these tools that will help teams get back in the water again.
And then just one last thing, guys, we will be sharing this link. I'm actually going to send it out in our newsletter next week. I'll be sending out a newsletter, and we'll have a link to this recording. But you can also ask any of us for that at any time. But we will be sending out a link to the recording for sure. Well, we're going to stay on and answer these couple more questions that came in, but people are pressed for time. You've seen the bulk of everything we do at this point, so we really appreciate you. I did get a question about how to handle merge results for a virtual meet when the other team, when the other team is swimming on a different day of the week. So whichever team is starting to do their data entry first, those times will appear in the other team's Meet Maestro interface. And so they'll be able to see those times from whoever did it first, but the meet will not score until all the data is entered from any of the participating teams for any particular event. So once event 1, everyone gets all that data in. So the last team to be running their meet enters the data for event 1 will score. When the last team to be running the meet enters the data for event 2 will score, etc. That's kind of how that works. Tracy, do you see some others that we need to go over?
So a few people ask about how to get to Pro. So if you go to the App Store, the Google Play or iTunes app, I forget what they're called, then you download the free SwimTopia app, and then you get the free features. And then anytime you try to go into a meet and access any of those Pro features, like if you try to hit a heat sheet or click on a swimmer's name or whatever, then you'll get a screen that prompts you to upgrade to Pro. Yeah. Let's see, we have a large team and a small pool, and our young kids swim first, then clear the pool and pool deck and have our older kids swim. So it's basically 2 different meets. Can we merge this with other teams who do their meet as one meet? So at Evie, I would recommend, if you wanted to do it in this virtual sense where we have the 2 sessions like this, then you might just have to use either, you'd want to make sure that your swim events are in the same order with the same numbering system, otherwise the meet won't merge. And so if the younger events are interspersed throughout, then you could just use that event bar to get to those young events and then go in and do the data entry
as those young events occur, and then later in the day go back and backfill the other event numbers, if that makes sense. We do have a way to merge two meets together after the fact, but that requires our customer happiness team and then having to submit a request and wait for them to do it behind the scenes and under the covers, and the results won't come in live and that sort of thing. But if you had two, but those would also have to have matching event numbers.
So, and then there was another question Kelly asked about switching older and younger swimmers so they're socially distanced. And I think that follows the same logic as what you're just talking about, Tracy, with keeping those event numbers together. So you might reorder the events themselves so that you're just doing all the older kids events and all the younger kids events. And then I've got one question here about combining heats, and I had that question during the session as well. So we don't have an awesome, amazing, like jaw-dropping way to combine heats right now, but we have that plan for the future. Our CEO and founder ran his meets for his team for 15 years. So he's very well versed in what Meet Manager does and doesn't do, and we get this request a lot. So combining heats is something we want to do really, really well in the future. But for now, our system is limited to being just pretty much how it works with Meet Manager today, which would be that if you're going to combine heats, whether older kids or younger or whatever, you would kind of put them in the lanes that you want them to swim in. You would just move them around in your Meet Maestro interface. So like if you were combining, you know, one of this one heat that only has 2 of these kids, maybe you're going to put the 10 and under kids, move them up to lanes 1 and 2, and then in your next event that you want to combine, you might put those kids in lane, you know, 4 and 5, and then, you know, the heats are just sort of set up as its own heat, still with the event that it was originally set up with, and then the other heat will be, you know, set up as its own heat as well. And then the data entry people will just know to put these kids, you know, are in this heat and the other kids are in the other heat. So, yeah. Yes, we definitely have a recording of the meeting. We'll be sending it out to everyone. If you combine heats with different age groups, it still scores age groups separately, correct? So there's sort of this different thing, Dennis, it's not exactly combining heats. It's a different way of grouping events. Tracy, do you want to go into that?
Oh, no, go ahead.
Okay, yeah, okay. So, well, when you group events, it means that you can, like my team runs this way, we actually run everyone who swims a 50, we mix it all up. So our fastest 11-year-olds might be swimming against some 16-year-olds. So you kind of group your events together, and then we'd merge all those kids in for the heat sheets just based on their speed. And then we'd still score them separately. So my 11-year-olds would get scored only against the other 11-year-olds, even though they're swimming right next to a 16-year-old. So in our system, if you look in our help center under like grouped events, you'll learn more about that, which is a little bit different to combining heats.
Right, and that
makes sense.
Yeah, that's something that gets defined in your Meet template on the SwimTopia side of things. So you would tell it which you would tell it that I've got, you know, 11 and 12. 13, 14, and 15 and up, 50 free, and that they all get grouped into this 11 and up 50 free. And so that way it will know that it gets seeded as 11 and up, but it gets scored as the individual age groups. And that all gets defined on the SwimTopia side of things in your Meet template where you define your swim events.
And so Dennis is saying, like, you do that prior to merging and combine. If you want to combine something afterwards, yes, that if you want to combine it after the fact, you have to just kind of do that manually. Mm-hmm. And then while we're on this topic, I've got one more question from Lords, which is saying, is it a bigger difference if Dolphin is being used? So what happens when you do what I was suggesting in this particular instance, where I kind of moved my kiddos to one side of the pool and moved my other kiddos in the next heat to the other side of the pool? What happens with Dolphin is that you just load that same race twice. So you load the race results in this heat to get Sydney and Bruce's time, and then in the other heat where you've moved the kids to lanes 4 and 5, you load the race again and to get their times in. So it's not too bad with Dolphin. You're able to just kind of load the races a couple times. And then there was another question. Oh, this was a really good question from Andrea. If we're hosting a virtual meet and we use SwimTopia and they use high tech and we're doing our virtual meets on different days, what do you need to do to get the results after everything's done? So in that case, you're going to run your meet if the other person is running their side of the virtual meet in a different software, it means that your meet in Meet Maestro is kind of just like a mock meet or an intra-squad meet. You're just running it with your own kids. You don't need to link to anyone else or anything like that. You just create like a mock meet. It's just your team. You're going to put all your results in. You're going to end up with your finish and export on your finish and export tab that Tracy showed you. And you're going to go to the download section, and you're going to download your results. And at the moment, what's going to have to happen is you're going to have to send your results in the high-tech file format to the team that ran in high-tech, because high-tech can merge the results, your HY3 version of your Meet Maestro results, and that team's high-tech results, and high-tech merges it and scores the whole meet. We have plans for Meet Maestro to do that by the time summer teams start racing this season, but it's not quite built yet. So
Ellie,
at the moment, yep.
Yeah, sorry, Ellie, can you, if you can do the drop down, it's actually the results merge file. I mean, the merge results
okay, thank
file.
you. Oh, sorry. Yep.
Merge results file.
Merge results. Okay. Okay, good. Thank you, Tracy. Tracy's much more techie, much more knowledgeable than me. I'm just a salesperson.
Diana has a good question here that says, can the other team see our results if we enter ours before they enter theirs? So if you're talking about a virtual meet scenario, then yes, they could just toggle on that session button and see what the results are. And so this is where we're just on the honor system that people are having integrity and running their meets the way that meets ought to be run, with all in good spirit. The question is, if it's built, then can we import the high-tech results file and merge the results in SwimTopia? That, yes, Andrea, Andrea, that's the plan, and we're crossing fingers. We can't make we're not allowed to make promises.
So right now, no, you can't do that in SwimTopia right now, not yet.
Yes.
Unfortunately.
But the other team can do it for you and then get that back to you.
Your first meet is the last week of May. Tracy's nodding. I mean, we have.
I'm just saying that. Yeah, we know that that's
goals.
the time frame. Yeah, that's the time frame
Yeah.
that we're shooting for, because we know everybody's kind of in the same boat. Yeah.
Tracy, can you help Lewis or Louie? I've downloaded the desktop app and logged in with my SwimTopia account, but don't see my team.
It you might need to have a merged meet before you can see that.
Yeah, I think you need to have built and kind of merged a meet in your SwimTopia interface, and then you'll be able to find things there. Dennis, I'm pretty sure I've downloaded non-virtual meet results with high-tech into SwimTopia. Yeah. You can certainly download non-virtual meet results from high-tech into SwimTopia. Yeah, absolutely. You can get results into SwimTopia from high-tech on that import screen within that the meet interface under the schedule tab. That what we can't do is we can't take the other team's virtual meet and your virtual meet and score it for you. We can import like high-tech files for sure, but we just can't score a meet for you. Why does SwimTopia question, why does adding new items to the team store make them not show up in the store? We had to change 2019 items to make a new one show up and archive all other items. We're limited to 4 items. Tracy, do you know the answer to that one? When you've made merchandise items in SwimTopia in the past, we encourage you to copy the past items and create a new one. You definitely don't want to just like edit your 2019 stuff and call it 2020, because all the orders and stuff are associated with that merchandise item. So you got to copy that merchandise item, create a new one. There's no limit to the number of merchandise items you can have or you can display. In your team store feature, you just add them as you just add more snippets to your page and add more of the merchandise items to your page. So
right.
I'm not sure.
So, yeah, it's kind of a 2-step process. You create the items in your catalog under manage team on the back end, but then on the front and on your store page, you would go to edit page and then add a snippet, and then each catalog item needs its own snippet. And so if you change a merchandise item, if you
archive an old merchandise item and add new ones into your catalog, then you need to make sure that those new ones get added to the front-facing page with a snippet.
Cool.
Yeah.
Have we missed anyone's questions or any more questions coming in? Trying to look back.
Yeah, if anything comes up once we
There's a new one.
once we say goodbye, farewell to you, then we remember we've got our help center at help.swimtopia.com. And like Ellie said, it's got a great search feature. If you don't find what you need while you're in the help center, you can always hit submit a ticket at the top right corner and then ask our help center, ask our customer happiness team what your question is, and they'll be happy to answer that. But we are looking forward to seeing some awesome meets this year, some virtual, maybe some live, maybe combination.
Yeah. All right. I think it's slowing down, Tracy. I think people
Yeah.
might be winding up.
Okay.
We appreciate everyone's time. And yeah, bye guys. Thanks so much. Hopefully you know where to find us and find out, you know, Tracy just mentioned all our support resources. So hopefully if you have more questions, you know where to find us now. So thanks so much for your time.
Fantastic. Thank you, everyone. Have a good Friday.
Have a great weekend.